and culture. So let's go. Strategic moves with Kenn Dowell Radio Show. Let your voice be heard. Time to elevate. Ay, call in on Talk to Me Tuesday. Ay, let your voice be heard. Time to elevate. 95.9 FM. Tune in and don't wait. What's on your mind Tuesday? Streaming on WOBU.org and 95.9 FM. And don't just listen. Jump in and be the conversation. Let's go.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You tuned in to another episode of Strategic Moves. I'm your host, Kenn Dowell. This is a place where we bring art, culture, politics, and business all together. And we do it every Tuesday right here on this WOVU 95.9 FM radio station. But when I'm not shooting this podcast, I am the owner of Strategic Resources, where we specialize in political campaigns, government, and public relations work. We've been doing it all around Cleveland for over 25 years. Met some interesting people along the way, and we're going to make your next move a strategic move. So this program gives me an opportunity to do just that. It gives me a chance to bring on some of the people I met. We sit down, we talk about some of the experience we have, and maybe there's something you can get out of it that'll help you with your business or your personal life. So if it sounds like something you're interested in, all I need you to do is hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and the notification bell as well, so that you will know the next time this program on. And if you're listening to us live on the radio, you can tune in by calling in, because it is Talk to Me Tuesday. You get to tell me what's on your mind, Cleveland. This is a call-in radio show where you can call in at 216-271-0959, 216-271-0959, where you get a chance to come in and tell me what's on your mind, Cleveland, what's going on in the city, what's happening, whether that's politics, it could be what's going on with our political world, it can be what's going on in the city here locally, it could be nationally, but we want to sit back and hear what's on your mind, Cleveland, so you get a chance to come in and talk to us. We got a guest coming in on our show on the second half of our program. It's none other than Congresswoman Shontel Brown. She's going to come in and talk to us and give us an update of what's going on in D.C. and what's going on nationally. There's a lot of things going on in the world today, and we want to get down to some of those issues and some of those topics. I want to give a quick shout out to DJ True, who's here helping us put this program together and helping us get things going. What's happening with you, son?
I'm good. How you doing?
Everything's everything. Every day is a holiday.
A holiday.
Every day is a holiday.
Well, what do you, me and you both was at that teen summit, the Why Are You Angry Teen Summit. And I just wanted to ask you, why do you think these kids are so angry, and what can we do as a community to help them?
Well, I don't know, Latif. And we will never know, because none of the young people came to the summit. It was an empty summit there, brother. It was nobody there. And that's part of the problem with what's going on in our community, is the lack of young people getting involved and being able to do it, the lack of organization to bring them to the table so that they can tell you that. I'm not a young man. I don't know why young men are angry. I can't even understand why I can't get my kids to do the stuff I asked them to do. So let alone trying to figure out why these young men are angry. But I do know this, that we having a problem in getting messaging out to them. And I think that that's something that we all need to take a look at and kind of change our approach of how we do that, so that we can have an opportunity to talk to these young men. We spent the whole summer last year trying to do a program where we said we put 1,000-man boots on the ground. We was doing all of that all summer. And the one thing I used to come every time I do those events, I used to sit back and I said, boy, we did a good job bringing these old men out. But it was no young men there. And you know what they were telling me? I was saying, we going to canvas, we going to do this. And they all would come, brothers were walking up to me, Ken, man, I can't canvas, man. My knees are bad. I got a bad hip and this and that. But our phone bank, I could do this, I could do that. And I'm looking at them like, man, we need some young people in here to help get this thing done and to get our movement, to make this movement move. I think that's what we got to have. And so the key to what we got to do is that. So we went to several events this weekend, and this is the part that I do have. I'm hopeful on. I am hopeful on this, is that there are people trying to do something about it. All right, so we
right.
did go to that event. We went to an event prior to that. Tenora and her crew did the
Man
Man
cave.
Cave event, which was well attended and had young people in there talking about some of their issues and why they felt they wasn't angry, but felt why they just couldn't figure out the next step in life. And we talked through some of that. And there's been lots of other programs. I'm constantly hearing people reaching out, trying to talk to African American men and people along those lines all the time about what they can do to do better. So with that, there's hope. There's truly hope that, one day that things will happen.
So how do you think we engage more of the youth? Because I know our direction is to get more youth active in some of our initiatives.
Um, you know, um, that's one of the things that we're going to really reach out this summer and really get doing. I changed up a few of the things that we do as it relates to working with Voices for a Better Future PAC, which is one of the organizations we work with. This year, we're going to really be putting forth an effort to try to reach out and get engaged more African American men and women.
Okay,
To
okay.
try to do it, because maybe part of the issues of getting to these young men is maybe trying to get to these young women as well, and bringing them into the forefront and having them to have discussions where they can have some meaningful discussions as well, because they have a lot of issues too, and them getting together and all of us working together seems to be a really big issue sometimes, and people are not able to kind of come together. And so I'm
Right.
hoping that we utilize this platform and utilize this summer to be able to do that. So that's one of the things I'm hoping to do.
Well, that sounds like it's a good direction that we going in.
And we're gonna try. We're gonna try. We're gonna try to engage. I know that there is a big need I see these days of a lot of young people getting more involved in the faith community and looking for opportunities along those lines. So we're going to engage some of the newer. We're going to engage. Excuse me. We're going to engage some of the young folks that are involved in some of those things that we're involved with as well. So we got a couple of things that we're hoping to pull up under our sleeves this year that we can
Okay.
kind of get them involved in.
Yeah, that's definitely great.
So,
Now, what do you think about, just to switch up a little bit, Kanye West
heck,
tweet?
what do you do?
Well, if you ain't and I'm just getting kind of hip to it myself, but he tweeted on X that he had an incestuous relationship with his cousin at the age of 14. And he was a lot more explicit than what I just said.
So you say it was rape?
No, he wasn't raped. He said he had an incestuous relationship with his cousin.
Long story short, hey y'all, it's Uni. Long story short, he tweeted that he exposed dirty magazines of his parents to his younger cousin at the age of 6 and performed fellatio upon his cousin up until the age of 14. Why you laugh?
So yeah, Uni explained it a lot better than what I did.
Oh my God. Oh, I don't even know. We got this thing we call that you can't be smart and stupid at the same time. And we wasn't supposed to kind of do that, but I ain't gonna give it to Kanye West because he don't deserve that, because that's just terrible. I mean, that is like, first of all, the act in itself, and then to come out and then say that. I mean, is he looking for somebody to arrest him? He's looking for somebody to do something. What was the purpose? What? How did that serve the universe in any way?
I'm not sure his purpose besides driving people to madness towards him and just upsetting folks. Besides that, for this album, which I heard is fire. I personally have not listened to it at all. It's just too much going on with him right now. He needs help. And if this is for publicity, he still needs help. And unfortunately, that is something that is unspoken, untalked about in the Black community, but happens in a lot of families.
Right.
a lot of families. And I'm not justifying it any type of way. I'm saying it is a conversation needs to be had amongst us.
I don't know. And this is what I'm saying when I say I don't know if there's a conversation that need to be amongst us. I think that was a conversation that he needed to have among his therapist.
Yes.
I think he really needed to keep that to himself.
So do you disagree that
Hey, Congresswoman,
incestual
we see you.
relationships happen in our community?
Oh no, it happens all the time.
So
Listen,
you don't think a conversation is needed?
Well, no, when I'm saying that
Not
is
like that.
not like that. I think,
okay,
that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking that the first conversation, you know, you got to heal yourself and you got to deal with yourself.
Precisely.
So I think the first thing he needs, he's been dealing with these demons and he got a lot of them, obviously. I mean, he came out in the last interview I saw with a leather Ku Klux Klan all black outfit on. It was made out of leather, y'all. It was I mean, that was what I was tripping on. He actually had somebody stitch that thing in leather for him. And so when we get into that type of point of where we are and that's what's happening, I think that man needs some real serious therapy. But what you're talking about, Uni, happens in families all the time. Not all the time. It had happened in a lot of families, and especially older families coming up. And I like to and thinking that nowadays is still there because you hear it and you see it on the news all the time. Child molestation and incest and rape, all that stuff happens all the time, and it's just terrible. But I think the first conversation for people who have that is to kind of deal with it. You don't deal with it the way he dealt with it. It wasn't good for him or the person who he actually did it to.
Right.
And put them all out there like that.
I would have a conversation with your family first. So how does his family feel? He announced that on X or Twitter, and his
family already know he crazy. He walks around in a leather Ku Klux Klan. That's what he comes out in the public in. Can you imagine what he's probably at when the camera's not on him? He's a nutcase.
Now, I am concerned. Like, why is everything so sexually charged with him all of a sudden?
Because he just told you. It started when he was a kid. Somebody probably did something to him that made him feel that way. Or if they didn't do it to him, he became a predator.
And that's the thing, it's a trickle-down effect.
Or he is the predator. It could have just had a bad seed. And it starts with him. Just nasty old crazy man. With crazy thoughts, who doing nasty things
at that time. Little boy.
Hey, it starts when you a little demon seed.
Yes.
Yeah, and Kanye West
children imitate what they say, so the likelihood of that occurring with him is more prevalent than him just being a little demon seed.
Well, let me tell you. This is what I'm trying to tell you. He said he was showing his cousin pictures of his parents.
No, magazines.
Magazines.
Yes. That his parents owned.
That his parents owned.
Like Playboy.
Like Playboy and stuff like that. So, maybe he was just walking around the house, like I say, little demon, watching his mom and dad. He could have been nasty little Kanye West.
He could have been.
But I think that happened. That does happen a lot. When magazines are hitting somewhere, kids get into them, and you don't never know how that's going to affect them.
Nah.
They're going to always affect different kids in different ways.
Yeah. That's why you got to lock it up. It's like your guns and your weapons. You got to keep stuff away from children.
I mean, when you think about that, though, how many parents actually lock up their weapons the way that they are supposed to? Just like they don't with their porn.
Yeah.
That's my point.
And that's why I'm saying, and to that, and we're going to get ready because we got the Congresswoman on hold, right? Well, what I was going to get to is that it's different than where it was. It's almost easier. Because then you could lock up your porn. You could take the magazine. Your dad had them hid. They had them everywhere. But now, in lock boxes, now kids can go on their phone.
It's pop-ups.
It's pop-ups. It's everywhere.
It's right on Twitter. X.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, on X. And just to say, to comment on the weapon, I remember as a kid, where my stepfather's weapon was and being curious of how it looked or looking in the drawer. I didn't go as far as taking it out or taking it to school like some of these kids are. But when you leave those weapons unsecure, you open yourself up to some major tragedies that could happen.
That's what happens. That's why you have to stay safe, keep your stuff locked up, and talk to your kids. See what's on their mind. If they seeming a little weird, they probably are. And you need to look at that. And no, seriously. Some people be like, oh, that's just how you act, man. No, maybe you need to talk to that kid and see what he's doing in the basement. So you need to find out who he's hanging with. You need to find out what they're doing, and you really get involved in their life. I mean, sometimes we just let that slide. They hang in their room, so out of sight, out of mind. They in the room all the time.
They don't go outside.
They don't go outside. They living on take the phone away sometimes. Go put your feet in the grass, man. Let life live a little bit. Get off social media. And stop becoming what social media and everybody else wants you to be, and become yourself. We're going to end on that note because we got Congresswoman Shontel Brown in the house, and she's going to be coming on right after this break to give us what's going on in Cleveland and everything that's not going on in Cleveland, what's going on in the nation capital. This is our Congresswoman. I am so sorry. We're going to have her on right after this break. We'll be right back.
Cleveland, this is your show, your topics, and your voice. Join in for What's on Your Mind Tuesday on 95.9 FM WOVU. Call in or comment on social media. Let's make this conversation unforgettable. Streaming live on WOVU.org.
Support for WOVU comes from the Alzheimer's Association, presenting the 4th annual Purple Sunday on April 27th. This free event at churches across the region raises awareness about Alzheimer's and dementia. Learn about the disease's impact, warning signs, early detection, and clinical trials. Free care and support resources will be available. For details, visit alz.org/Cleveland.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell radio show for What's on Your Mind Tuesdays. Call in, comment, and connect on 95.9 FM WOVU, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media. Let's go.
All right. We are back in the house, and today we have on Congresswoman Shontel Brown. And for those who don't know who she is, like they say, you better go ask somebody. Our Congresswoman for the 11th Congressional District. She's been doing a wonderful job representing us out there in D.C. and fighting a good fight for what's right for everybody here in Cuyahoga County and everybody in this district. She has a big event tonight. She's doing these coffee clutches all around the district. She's just about a 4th or 5th one she's done so far. Thousands and thousands of people come out to listen to her talk. And she captivates the room with some of the interesting information that she has. So, without further ado, I want to bring on Congresswoman Shontel Brown. How you doing?
Hey, Ken. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, everything's good. Every day is a holiday. I love it when you come on the show. I'll be up all day like, oh, the Congresswoman coming on today. So I need to be really excited about that and get things going. So I am not going to hold you up. Won't you tell us, man, what's going on in D.C. that we need to know? All they'd like to do is show us, and I'll say it because this is all they show us is your girl Crockett. Every time we turn around, they got Crockett. I'll be like, we got other Congress people up there fighting. As a matter of fact, I was watching the video clip and you were sitting right next to her. I was like, there goes Shontel right there. So tell us what's going on in D.C. Tell us what they're not telling us what's happening.
We're fighting back in Congress. It's not just Crockett and Bernie Sanders and AOC. Those are the ones that people know. They get a lot of media attention because of, some of the things that they say. But I just want people to know that we are fighting back in the Congress, the courts, and the community. You've heard me say this multiple times when I'm out in the streets fighting, when I'm at marches, when I'm at protests, when I'm at rallies. And so what your listeners need to know, what that means is from the position of Congress, people need to know there's 435 members of Congress. You probably can name 7 on a good day. Correct. But I think people need to know that there's 435 of us. And of the 435 right now, we have 213 who are Democrats. So we're in the minority. It's tough for us to get anything done, but that doesn't mean that we don't try to leverage our power and our influence and our weight and authority to try to hold this administration accountable. Some of the things that I have been doing is introducing letters, demanding transparency, introducing legislation, trying to reinstate some of the policies that were longstanding policies from 1965. I think you've heard me, Ken, talk about the Equal Employment Opportunity Executive Order. Well, that was something that Lyndon Baines Johnson signed. That's so we talking about 1965.
Wow.
But with at the urging of Martin Luther King, and he did this so that the contractors and federal government would have to implement policies that prevented them from discriminating. So they would have to be proactive about making sure when they do these federal projects that they were looking in the communities to hire and employ people that represented those communities. Well, with the stroke of a pen, Donald Trump has taken that away. So myself and Jamie Raskin, who's the top ranking Democrat on the Judiciary Committee, have taken steps to try to make this law. And that's a good point to make. What Donald Trump has been doing has been signing a ton of executive orders. These are not laws. These are executive orders. So they can change with the election of a new president. He's not going through the protocol or the process that people would normally do to make things codified into law. So when he talks about this mandate, if you have this mandate, then you could go through the regular channels because you got the House and the Senate. The Republicans have the majority in the House and the Senate, so it should be easy to pass his agenda. But I believe he even knows that some of the ideas are unpopular because there have been over 179 lawsuits filed against these executive orders.
That's what I was going to say. It seemed like now he's getting much, much more pushback. I see now more of the courts and everyone else are now pushing back on some of the executive orders that he's taking. It looks like he's doing a little pivoting with, as you call Elon and the muskrats over there. Like they all pivoting a little bit and everybody's trying to run for shelter these days. So I'm glad to see that. I got a question for you, though. Here you go. It says recent passage of the Republican budget proposed significant cuts for Medicare, SNAP. And how do you oversee these these changes impacting the folks here in the 11th congressional district?
So let me give some context and clarity for that, what you're talking about. So they've proposed a budget that would help them achieve their $4.5 trillion tax cuts for the ultra wealthy. The tax cuts would benefit the 0.1%, not 1%, 0.1% of people in the United States. And the way they get to this $4.5 trillion is they have to claw back some of the money, the programs and services that people currently rely on. And so they didn't explicitly say Social Security. They didn't explicitly say Medicare and Medicaid. But what they did, and this is how they're so slick and clever, they said that you need to find $880 billion in tax cut in the Energy and Commerce Committee. Well, that's where Medicare is housed. So Medicaid is housed under that committee. So you cannot cut $880 billion without going to the largest line item, which is Medicare, Medicaid. For SNAP benefits, the proposal, they didn't say SNAP, but they said they proposed a budget where you have to cut $230 billion out of the Agriculture Committee. Well, that's the committee where I sit on. And SNAP is a significant part of the agriculture budget. So you can't get to this cut without going after these programs. So they're very clever. So they can legitimately say, oh, we didn't vote for that, but they did in reality, because you cannot achieve these cuts without attacking these programs that are housed under these specific committees, which they are proposing these cuts.
And I read something and big news was going on. I guess there was a truck of food that was coming here to Cleveland to the food bank or something like that. And the administration and them turned the truck back and said that they wasn't going to be feeding or sending more resources to our hunger centers here or the Cleveland Food Bank. Is those the type of cuts you're referring to when they talk about agriculture?
So in agriculture, the SNAP benefits, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. If anybody follows me on social media, you would have seen that I did the SNAP challenge. Basically, what that is people on SNAP, they get assistance to the tune of $42 a week. And if you break that down, that's $6 a day. And if you break that down, it's $2 per meal. And so trying to find, for an individual, but still, $42, Ken?
Yeah, I was about to think a week. That ain't a lot. That ain't a lot.
$6 a day, $2 a meal, essentially, if you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they want to claw this back while Elon Musk is making $8 million a day on government contracts. Now, so those are the proposed cuts. That's how people would be impacted. Women and infants and children, the WIC program, as it's often referred to. Those programs would see deep cuts. So it's baffling to me how the wealthiest man in the world, who doesn't necessarily need these resources, is calling the shots or looking for the cuts to programs while he benefits from the government to the tune of $8 million a day. And he wants to take away the money that people are using to just make ends meet. And so, yeah, these are some of the things that this administration is doing. And it's contrary to what Donald Trump campaigned on. People say they voted for him because he would be good for the economy, that he promised to lower the prices of gas, goods, and groceries. Remember that? And for a second there, I had to admit, I saw the gas prices going down, but this weekend I was like, whoa, what? They back up higher than they ever were. So groceries aren't going down. The cost of goods and services aren't going down because of Trump's taxes and tariffs. So this administration, Ken, is just absolutely reckless.
You mentioned tariffs, so I was going to go there. How are those? I've been watching all of these things on social media and things of that nature about the tariffs and what's been affecting folks here. One of the funniest ones I saw was this Chinese guy was on there, and he was, I guess, in Japan or China or somewhere, and he had his hands out and he said, "This is how many items in China I have in my house that's made by the U.S." And it was like, he had nothing in his hand. And then he asked us, he said, "Well, how many items do you have in your house that's made by China?"
Man.
So I looked at that, and that one was, because there's a lot going on, but that one was funny, but it was really deep. And so with that, all these tariffs and everything we're hearing and all the implications they're talking about with bringing auto industry back here in the United States and building cars. What's the reality that you're hearing from some of the folks that are in the industry with this stuff?
Yeah, I just had a call today, actually right before your show, Ken, and I was talking to one of my supporters, the gentleman who owns Gojo, which is essentially Purell hand sanitizer, right? And he shared with me they currently buy $30 million a year of product out of China.
Wow.
And because of this tariff, that would go up because of what Trump is charging these I think it's to the tune of like 145% on China, right?
Yeah.
On top of the 35% they already had. So he said to me, his costs are going to go from $30 million to $80 million.
Wow.
And so even if he doubled his prices, he would not make a profit. So essentially, he would have to triple his prices to make a profit because of what Trump has proposed. So that's a real life example, a real life person who I had a conversation with today, who essentially said, and when we're talking about health and hygiene item. We're not talking so this has become a necessity in our life. He supplies hospitals across the country. So who do you think is going to get that cost? That cost is going to be passed on to the hospitals. And where do you think the hospital is going to do? Because if you're proposing cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, which essentially in some instances provides a significant portion of the hospital's operation budget. So they're cutting money while raising prices. What is that going to do? That's going to destroy things. And so I shared with him that I would tell this story and let people know how these tariffs are impacting them. And he said, and this is the thing, because no one is in disagreement with getting jobs back to the United States, right? I think we all agree we would want to be able to manufacture things again, but that doesn't happen with the flick of a switch.
Right.
So it takes some preparation. It takes some planning. So he is willing to do that. But he said in order to get a manufacturing facility up and running to meet the capacity and the demand that he is currently utilizing in China would take 3 years.
He won't be in office.
we pray, because the man is trying to talk about running for a third term. So, I don't take anything that he says lightly, Ken, because you were out with me on the stump during the campaign, and I told people, I pleaded with people, I implored people. I said, look, this man is going to try to take us back before civil rights. And then for people that look like us, civil war. And that is a real thing, because he's trying to take away birthright citizenship. This man is a person who said on the campaign trail, I want to be a dictator on day one. And then he also said that he wanted to terminate the Constitution. So some of us saw this coming. Some of us are not surprised by this at all. And
to your point, it's going to take years. I mean, we talk about him not being in office, which is one thing, right? You won't be in office, but even if years to get a facility up that people can run, that'll never happen. I don't want to be saying it'll never happen, but the likelihood of that happening is very, very, it's not realistic, I think, to me. I just don't know.
Well, and that's just that, and not to minimize or discount the work that Gojo does, but we're not even talking about the automobile industry that requires similar or even greater technology, because
that's what I mean.
That's the thing. So these things require a lot of preparation and planning, and that's just not Trump's strong suit.
Everybody, we got Congresswoman Shontel Brown in the house. She's giving us some information. She's having a town hall meeting today, and she's going around in various different parts of the district to talk about what's going on in D.C. and answering everybody's questions. She's not running from the questions. She's there to answer the questions. If you got any questions, you can call in 216-271-0959 if you got any questions, or drop us a line on our social media. You can type it in if it's decent. I will put it on the screen and let people see it. We have shout out to Miss Lenny Powell. She said Miss Shontel Brown for what she's doing. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back from that break, we will continue our conversation with the Congresswoman. We'll be right back.
What's up, Cleveland? It's time to turn up the conversation. Tune in to the Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell radio show for What's on Your Mind Tuesdays. Call in, comment, and connect on 95.9 FM WOVU, WOVU.org, and hit us up on social media.
Support comes from CMSD.
At CMSD, we're striving to provide resources, support, quality education, and opportunities to scholars regardless of their zip code or their background. The future of CMSD means providing education opportunities for all scholars across the district, targeted to support their academic achievement. It's a future where equity is at the forefront and barriers no longer exist. The future of CMSD starts here.
Support for WOVU 95.9 comes from the TJ Carey Foundation, presenting the Heart Warrior Run and Walk on Saturday, June 28th. The event includes a 5K challenge, a 1-mile walk, and a 100-yard kids run, hosted by 9-year NFL veteran TJ Carey. The football-themed event features music, referees, and cheerleaders. Proceeds benefit programs of the TJ Carey Foundation. Details at tjcareyfoundation.org.
Cleveland, this is your show, your topics and your voice. Join me, Kenn Dowell, for What's on Your Mind Tuesday on 95.9 FM WOVU. Call in or comment on social media. Let's make this conversation unforgettable. Streaming live at WOVU.org.
All right. We're back with Congresswoman Shontel Brown in the house. Congresswoman Brown, how you doing? How's your mental these days? How's your mental today?
Well, thank you for asking. You know me, Ken. I'm a woman of deep faith, still active member of the Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church, where the pastor,
greatest
Reverend
pastor,
Larry L. Harris presides. And so, so I do attend when I am in Cleveland. I am at Mount Olive's church services, particularly when it's not campaign season, and even when it's not, I do tend to visit other churches. I've been over to Miss Lenny Powell's church, Olivet, with good Pastor Colvin. I get over there with Larry Macon and Mount Zion. So I keep my spiritual life well balanced. R.A. Vernon, my friend Aaron Phillips, Pastor Phillips at Shore House, and I will even dabble in a little bit of the online ministry. So I rock with Jamal Bryant every now and again. I love what he's doing out in Atlanta, but staying
Hey, was you at church when my man told everybody to lock the doors because they were
so I heard about this. I did not see it.
that day?
And I heard different takes on it. So let me just say this. I don't know what happened, but I do know I have been in churches where, they will close the door. It's church protocol when you do certain things to close the door so people aren't walking around and collecting money, prayer, communion. Those are things where you do shut the door. So I don't know. I had no comment on that because I really missed that part. But I heard about it. So if it is,
never would have paid it.
If he said lock the doors, that might be a little bit concerning. But if he said close the doors, then that's different. That's typical church stuff.
I think he said close the door. I'm gonna be fair.
I think it close the doors happens at the church. If you
it happens.
You know that.
Anybody who knows church really knows that happened, and that's the funny part about it. For those who don't go to church are the ones who really have an issue with it.
Exactly.
But we know what that meant.
Exactly. It's a reverence thing. It's a respect thing. It's an honor thing. So,
all right, we'll get back to business here. Okay, you go. You've been vocal against the SAVE Act, highlighting the potential of suppression of votes. In your view, what happens? What's the broader implication of such legislation to our democracy, Congresswoman?
So I am always against things that make it harder for people to vote. And the SAVE Act does a couple of things that I do not agree with. The SAVE Act would require people to provide now listen, let me say, we already have laws in the book so that people who are not citizens cannot vote in elections. So this was really a solution in search of a problem. So what the SAVE Act proposes is that your voting ID must match your birth certificate. Now, that doesn't sound unreasonable, especially if you're a man. But if you are a woman who has gotten married and who has opted to take her husband's last name, which would likely be different from your maiden name, that poses a problem.
Yes.
And so that would disenfranchise about 70 million folks in the United States from voting. And I have a problem with that. So that does not seem like a good thing to do. And so the other thing that they would use to SAVE Act to verify your citizenship would be a passport. So I don't know about you, but I grew up in the hood, Kenny, and I really just got my passport in my late adult life, because passports don't come cheap, number one.
Right.
And so that is essentially a poll tax. If you have to get a passport, and we're talking about people, so you got families of 4 and 5, and passports are like at least $100+ that's a poll tax. And so no, I don't support people making it harder for us to vote than what is already necessary.
And that's definitely what that is. It's just another way for them to put that little knife in our back a little bit to make things just a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, and think about this, Ken, too. I didn't bring this part up, but the people who migrated from the South, right? Who don't even know where to find their original birth certificates.
Right.
What about those folks? And so it just makes things incredibly harder. And that
people like to believe when you say that that was back in the day, but it really wasn't that far ago. It really wasn't that far long ago.
We just got full voting rights in 1965.
Right. And listen, for everybody to put it in perspective, I was born in 1967. You see what I mean? So it was like a couple of years
before we were born.
They just gave us voting rights. So that's why I be trying to tell people this is not like this is something we had and we've been doing. This just happened, and we really forget about that. No, it's terrible. Let me give you something else. This is something that holds close to near to dear to you, and you've been this happened to you. Given the rise in swatting incidents targeting public officials, including yourself, what measures should be implemented to protect public civilians from maintaining public trust? Do you want to tell everybody what kind of happened with you during that process?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was, people are crazy. people be trying us out here in these streets. And I don't think people realize that they might see, folks like Jasmine Crockett and AOC and think, oh, this, it's great and it's all glitz and glamour. But it can be very dangerous. And especially for folks like them with a high profile. I don't even have that type of profile, but I had an attempt at swatting. I was actually just landed in DC, and I was on a Zoom, and I got calls back to back from folks that I normally wouldn't get calls from, and they were from the police department in my hometown of Warrensville. And I'm like, something must be serious. Let me take this call. And the chief, which I'm fortunate I have a good relationship with, he said, is everything okay at your house? And I'm like, yeah, everything's good as far as I know what's going on. He's like, well, we got a call saying that somebody was tied up in your basement.
Wow.
And I said, no. I'm like, wow. I just got to DC. I have cameras all around the house. I would get an alert if someone tried to enter my door. I have an alarm system. No such thing has happened, I can assure you. I'm going back in my cameras, looking at the footage, making sure my alarm wasn't tripped or deactivated at any time while I was up in the air for the 45 minutes I was traveling. But yeah. And so fortunately, because I have a relationship with my local police department, they didn't take the threat for verbatim. They had the decency and the sense enough to call me because they knew that was unusual. And they went ahead and did a perimeter check around the house and made sure, that there wasn't any type of intrusion or invasion or anything like that. But, it just speaks to the mindset of people. If I were not home, they would have busted down my door, or I didn't get the call. They would have potentially busted down my door, to survey my premises inside the house. And then, it would have been an incident where my neighbors would have been like wondering what's going on. And so, and I've said this story, the demographics of my neighborhood hasn't changed much since I moved here. I'm surrounded by seniors and retirees where I live. And so I can only imagine the fear or the panic that something like that could have caused them. And so I'm grateful for the security system that I have, as well as the relationship that I have with the police department, because we are in a very volatile time. We are in we're unprecedented times where people are doing unprecedented things to try to do people like me harm for trying to stand up for the right thing.
So you want to tell everybody who don't know what swatting mean, the term, what it means?
So swatting is when someone puts a call into the police department, and it's a fake call to say that something, some type of emergency, a threat is happening on your premises, to drive the SWAT team to your house to have them descend upon your home in whatever fashion that looks like. So usually a lot of police show up, weapons drawn, saying if you think there's a hostage in my basement tied up, that's a very high level threat for a police officer. So they're not going to just usually tap on your door. They're going to show up ready to throw down. And so swatting attempts, though, have been made on all of us, Republicans and Democrats. And so it's a very dangerous thing, and it's a scary thing to happen. And so, we live very public lives. Our information is readily available, oftentimes, on what we're doing. And so it does make for a very uncertain predicaments for when you're showing up at large scale events, whether you're leaving to go to DC. It just makes for certain safety protocols. It heightens protocols for us, safety protocols for us being in these positions, and people probably take it for granted because I'm a person who really likes to just continue on, doing what I do as I've always done it. But I'm sometimes reminded when I'm approached in a grocery store, and I'm alone, and they're like, "Are you the Congresswoman?" And I'm like, "Hold up, wait a minute, wait, what? What? Huh?"
Maybe.
But generally,
I
I,
know that's
I
right.
have not had I've only had one incident, and it was at the airport, so I didn't feel that unsafe. But I only had one incident where someone approached me in an aggressive manner that made me feel unsafe. Um,
Great.
but yeah, and that was early on. But yeah, generally speaking, is why I really make it a point to do the things that we talked about, like going to different church services, showing up at these marches and rallies so that people know I am accessible.
Mhm.
I am a person that enjoys engaging with the public. I have my town halls, as you pointed out. I'm not running from folks because I
Mhm.
don't really have that type of spirit or energy to be
Right.
trying to dodge folks. Like,
Right.
look, it is what it is. If I can help you, I will try to help you. If I can't, I will tell you that too. And then you just have to take it for what it
Mhm.
is. But I
Mhm.
don't have time to be ducking and dodging folks. Like,
Yeah.
I like being out in these streets.
Hey, we'll take a question from our one and lonely Miss Powell. Every week she give me a drop in, a like or something. So she sent
Hey, Miss Powell, we love Miss Powell, the legendary. Let me put my readers on. You know I'm over 40. I'll be 50 in June, Kenny.
Oh, there it is. You welcome to the 50 Club. There you go. We're gonna have to
Hey.
do a big party
Oh
for you.
my gosh. Head
Yes.
Start. So do you read the question?
The question is, what is I'm with you? I'm trying to look at them little words too. What is the what is the status of health Head Start? And will it be totally eliminated in the budget?
Miss Powell, this is the thing about this administration. We do not know. They have not been operating in transparency. This is something that they did propose, that was proposed in, I believe, their Project 2025. Now, one of the good things, and one of the points I think, I shouldn't say good things, but one of the points I'd like to clarify, because there's been a lot of discussion around the Department of Education. And Head Start, however, falls under Health and Human Services. I don't know if that's good or bad, but at least it's not under the Department of Education, which we know they have already taken steps to eliminate. They can't eliminate the Department of Education, but they certainly can starve it, and that's what they're doing. And they're doing this with a lot of different agencies. And I think it's important to also point out that this is a flood the zone approach. They are very intentional about, just throwing everything at us at once, and they want us to get tuned out. They want us to just decide, you know what, throw my hands up, it's too much. But what I'm encouraged by is the engagement that I'm seeing from the public, coming out on these marches and rallies and pushing back. And I just would encourage you, because it's not, while I am the highest ranking Democrat in the county, we do have two senators. And so I
You're
think
right about that.
yeah,
Everybody
I
keeps
think
forgetting about that little
yeah,
tidbit.
we do owe it to them to have them hear from us as well. So Miss Powell, you already know how I feel. I will be fighting for these programs to protect them, because I know how valuable they are to our committee and community. Shout out to Dr. Jackie Chisholm too, who runs the Head Start program and has been doing a phenomenal job. And this was something, again, that we talked about on the campaign trail. So I will be keeping my eye on it for sure.
Congresswoman, I got one question, and then I'm going to let you close us out. Reflecting on your journey from local governance to Congress, what lessons have you learned about effective leadership and community engagement? And then after you do that, I'm going to let you then give us your closing remarks of whatever you want to say to take us out. We'll have about 3 or 4 minutes left. So you take your time on. The first question is, I want to know, what's your biggest lessons from coming from all of your journeys coming up, and now you done made it into Congress and you're going through what you're going through. It's a growing steps and everything. So what's your biggest lesson you learned about leadership and community?
So I think it's only right for me to talk about the community engagement component, right?
Mhm.
That is how I essentially started. Anyone who knows my story know that I wasn't an activist per se, but I was engaged in my community, because what led me to my first city council meeting was I wanted to know how I would help my neighbors in the event of a natural disaster. So
Mhm.
that community engagement has been the foundation of my political journey. And what I learned in going to that initial city council meeting was there was some room for improvement. And I'm a person, the lesson that I say often is I believe in being the change that you want to see. It's easy to complain. It's easy to find fault. It is, as Antoine C. Wright likes to say, it is easier to be angered than informed.
Mm.
And so I didn't just want to be angry. I wanted to be informed on how I could change some things. And so it prompted me to continue to go to the meetings.
Mhm.
So I like to say some of the lessons that I've learned as it relates specifically to politics is this ascension that I have been able to make was
Mhm.
due to timing,
Mhm.
opportunity,
Mhm.
and preparation.
Mm.
TOP, top timing, opportunity, and preparation.
Mm.
So the timing was such that I ran for my first city council seat at the same time as my good friend Brad Sellers, who was
Mhm.
already a hometown hero in Warrensville Heights. And so his stamp of approval, my hard work,
Mhm.
uh, me preparing to do with it, provided an ample opportunity for me to get elected to city council.
Mhm.
And so I did not stop learning. I always wanted to be informed about the things that were going on around me.
Mhm.
Um, so learning as much as you can, soaking up as much as you can, because people can take things from you, physical things, but they can't take the knowledge. So once you figure out how to do something, you have that and nobody can take it away from you. The problem I have with some of these folks, particularly on the other side of the aisle, is that they like to change the game
Mhm.
while you playing. They like to change the rules to the game.
Mhm.
But if you stay up on the rules, you figure out a way. The other thing is, speaking of way, don't don't forget about why you are doing these things, because if you lose your why, then you lose your way. I
Mm.
know that I was doing this because I wanted to help people. That's always was my focus when I started running. That was always what I wanted to be able to do. And if I circle back to my first election, I didn't know on election night that I won. You probably remember this too. When the polls closed, I was down by 6 votes, and I
Mhm.
thought I lost, but it did not deter me
Mhm.
from doing the things that I was doing to help improve my community. In fact, I said I'll just keep doing what I was doing. And so, because there were 23 provisional ballots in my race, I learned 11 days later that I had won by 7 votes. And you
Mhm.
heard me talk about my faith here. As a child of faith, 7 means so much to me because 7 represents perfection, completion, and God. And so that has always been my moral compass, my guiding force, and what really keeps me focused, rooted, and grounded on why I do this work. It is really by God's grace that I am here,
Mhm.
because I certainly didn't think that I would be in Congress when I
Mhm.
decided to run for city council in 2011.
Mhm.
So all of those things, timing, opportunity, and preparation. If you and I came across each other in 2014,
Mhm.
uh, when the county council seat opened up and uh, council president Ciela Connolly decided to retire.
Yes. Yes.
And that's when our paths crossed.
Mhm.
And again, it was a timing thing.
Mhm.
My second race turned out a lot different than my first.
Mhm.
Um, where it went from 3 of us running for that first city council seat
Mhm.
to my second to being 6 of us. You remember that?
You have to remember that, right? That's correct.
Yeah. And sadly, 2 of those folks passed away
Mhm.
um,
You did.
from that 2014 race. But
Mhm.
with your help, with folks like Kim Hodge Edwards,
Mhm.
Wendy and Karen, that's when the whole gang came together back in
Right.
2014. We
Mhm.
were able to get 48% of the vote in a 6-person race.
First time out there doing that too. You was
First time out there, I was highly motivated because I don't know if you remember, there was rumors that one candidate had like $30,000, which
right.
seemed like a lot.
Out of money. Right. Compared to your last races you were in,
Yeah,
right.
it seemed like a lot at the time. We were like, "Woo, $30,000!" Like, how are we gonna
Right.
do? But
Exactly.
but surprisingly, with folks' help like yours and Wendy and Karen and Alan Malamed and Helen
Mhm.
Sheehan, shout out to her, we
Mhm.
were able to outraise everybody combined. And but we worked hard too. We put in a lot of work, knocking on doors in the dead of winter. So again, timing, opportunity, and preparation. We were prepared. The opportunity was there, and the timing was right. And Secretary Fudge had the vision of me becoming party chair, which you were instrumental in that. We made history with that in 2017. So I'm grateful for that. And all these things just kind of step by step, but never were they part of my plan.
That's correct.
They were never a part of my plan. The opportunities presented themselves. The timing was right. And it just so happened I was prepared. So I would say the biggest lesson in community engagement is timing, opportunity, and preparation. You got to be ready. You got to stay ready for these moments. You know what they say, you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
That's correct.
And
And you know what? To that point, I never thought about it like that, but you're right. During that process, you were you had the timing for everything was right. The timing was right. Every time it was a time, the timing was right. The opportunity was there because the opportunity were there, and you were prepared. And every one of those cases, it wasn't hard to argue the case because you were prepared. So when the opportunity came up and it was like, well, who's going to go there? It was easy to put your name in the hat because you were prepared already moving in that trajectory. So I think that was some profound stuff there, Congresswoman. I believe it. And I'm going to use that top. I think you have to be that way. Timing, opportunity, and preparation is what it takes in order for us to be great. So that's what I want to do. I'm going to tell everybody before I let you close it on your final words that the Congresswoman is going to be out today. She's going to do her coffee with Congresswoman Shontel Brown. This is on her political side. So she's not there.
official
I
side,
mean,
yeah,
her
political side.
governmental side. Sorry about that. So she's not there to do a lot of governmental questions. I mean, political questions, but she's going to answer any of your governmental questions and anything you got as it relates to what's going on in her office, what policies is going on, and if there's something she can help. She's going to be doing that at 7:30 tonight out at Ward 3. Councilman Kerry McCormick is going to be the special guest and is bringing her out there in his community to talk about that. And it's for the people in that community to get a chance to come out and talk to the Congresswoman. We're going to be out there today and we're going to stream it live. So if you
Hey,
tune in
thank
and you're still
you.
watching us, you'll be able to hear everything she's going to talk about. And we're going to talk to a few of the guest folks that are out there. So Congresswoman, we're getting ready to get up out of here. Got a few seconds. I got about a minute and a half for you. So before we leave, what you got to say to the people?
Well, I want to say thank you to you. I always want to start from a place of gratitude and appreciation for everything that you are doing, all that you have done, and all that you will continue to do. You have been a long time ally, friend, and supporter, and I'm honored to be able to call you my friend. And I really enjoy seeing the growth in both of us, especially you. We have been in the trenches together, and it's so good to know that I have a friend like you who's willing to take this very unpredictable, unprecedented journey with me. For those who are listening, thanks for tuning in. Shout out to Miss Powell, the legendary Lenny Powell. I look forward to seeing you soon. I don't know when it will be, but I am looking forward to getting my hug. And with that, I just want folks to follow me on my social media platforms. Follow me on both. I have official and unofficial. The official side is Rep Shontel Brown, and the unofficial, I believe, is Shontel M. Brown on most of the social media sites. And so keep up with me, spread the word, stay in the fight, stay encouraged, stay engaged, y'all, because this is an all hands on deck moment. Any day of the week, the people in the community outnumber the elected officials. Elon Musk can be the wealthiest man in the world, but he is only one man. And so if we come together, we can accomplish anything. And I truly, truly believe that. So with that, I want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll see you later on tonight, Ken, for my Coffee with the Congresswoman. And anybody is welcome to come. It'll be in Ward 3. But if you live in the 11th Congressional District, keep up with your Congresswoman. Let people know what I'm doing. I'm out here. I'm working. I'm fighting for y'all. And I'm going to continue to do it every chance that I get.
That is Congresswoman Shontel Brown, and you've been listening to Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell radio show every Tuesday right here on WOVU 95.9 FM. And I will see you this evening, Congresswoman, and everybody else, Ms. Powell, and everybody else there who contribute today and listen to our program. It was nice talking to you, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Will be available. For details, visit alz.org/Cleveland.